Hi everyone, welcome. As you can see, I've got my glove on. I've got the food ready to go that we're going to feed to these wormies. And the systems we're going to feed are out here on the bench. These are the original red wiggler worms. Today they've reached 52 days in service. And our last check-in 10 days ago was when we gave them feeding number 5. So that nice assortment of different frozen veggies, I believe it's all veggies, is going to go in here as feeding number 6. The last time we came in here, we had some frozen veggies. So wait, are there any veggies in here? I see banana, I see cantaloupe melon. I'm wondering if I think I see potato peel, so I think it's not all fruits. I think it is a assortment. That's pretty cool, you know. You saw me remove the plastic a moment ago. The main reason I like keeping plastic on my systems is that it's forcing recirculation of moisture within the system, so all this little puddling of moisture that we see on the top surface is all thanks to the plastic covers. If not for the plastic covers, the systems would be pretty dry out here on the surface. I mean, we did lay out a whole bunch of dry leaves onto the surface right before covering up last time. So I guess it was sort of expected that this material here would probably begin soaking in some of the moisture of the system, and I could definitely feel it. I think what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and try to blend in a lot of this leafy material. I see we've got dual feeding zone indicators in these systems. Not sure why that is, but it's a little different. With the help of these feeding zone indicators, we could always find our way back to where we last fed. And if for some reason there would be no more feeding zone indicators, perhaps the worms ate them. I could always probably just assume that down the middle is where we last fed. I can even see a little bit of a divot developing over here down the middle where we last fed. And I can already feel some of the slow composting objects that are in here. But I see a pumpkin stem that looks this way, especially in March, when usually pumpkins are on the worm feeding menu, usually around the Halloween time. You know that pumpkin stem right there is probably pretty old. And it is. It predates this system. It came with the worms from their old home, as did this half of a mango seed. And there was one object in the assortment of veggies that they got last time, which I wondered if it might still remain as leftovers. It was the stem end of a head of cauliflower, and I placed it pretty much in the middle of both systems. Everything else was pretty small sized scraps of stuff, but the stem of the cauliflower was so big that I felt like I had to cut it in half so that each system could get a piece of it. But I don't see anything that resembles that over here either. So it does seem like they've done away with everything, and that's just based on the fact that I couldn't find the largest object that I included in the last feeding last time. So that's pretty cool. Good on the timing. I've had some people commenting how in their worm bins they're observing what appears to be kind of an increase in activity in the worm bins, and I wonder if that could have something to do, like I mentioned a moment ago, it's March now, beginning of March, and that means we're only a few weeks away from the official start of spring, right? So regardless of what the groundhog said a couple weeks ago, was it a week ago? I forget. I think we were in for a few more weeks of winter, and I believe that the end of that few more weeks is pretty much drawing to an end at this point. And I think the worms might be sensing a change of seasons approaching. Perhaps things just aren't as chilly down here in my wormery as they were in the dead of winter. We've definitely got some nice weather forecasted for this week, which I'm definitely looking forward to. And I guess somehow we've gradually managed to get to the point where we can now think about bringing in their food today, because we've created a couple spots into which the food can be placed. And then after we get done feeding and dropping their feeding in, we'll we'll proceed to tilling up the rest of the systems and blending in all that nice leafy material around the edges. Something I've been doing in a few of my systems lately is ignoring the outer edges, and I can't remember if this might have been one of the systems where we took that approach. It might be, but today we're definitely going to be disrupting the outer edges. Now, a little something you see once in a while is this concept of lasagna feedings. And I thought that since I had these few pieces of soiled cardboard here, I thought that if I were to tear each piece in half, then we might have small enough pieces of cardboard here with which we can create a little bit of a staggered lasagna stack. So I think today's bedding is going to consist largely of these pieces of cardboard that I'm going to rest in here to accompany the feeding. So let's see if we can start divvying this stuff out here. There's a nice chunk of cantaloupe melon rind. There's a nice chunk of cantaloupe melon rind. Here's a banana peel, which we can split halfways because this might only be the only banana peel in the assortment. And then instead of stacking straight up, since I don't really have a great deal of depth here, I thought that, like I said before, I thought we would kind of go at it like a little bit staggered, like so. And then the last piece will come over here. So here's a nice round piece for each system. Perhaps another couple chunks of cantaloupe rind and a couple pieces of potato peel. And then in can come the last piece, on top of which we can sprinkle in what remains, get a few bits of food out here on top of the last piece of cardboard, give that a chance too. But with the moisture that I feel in this system, in both systems, I think we're going to be okay putting in dry cardboard, and at the end I think we're also going to put in dry leaves on the top, sort of like we did last time at the 11th hour. Last time I had already signed off and it was almost fade to black, and then I realized, oh my goodness, I promised myself that I'd be adding a nice top coating of leaves, which I never did. So it was a little addendum to the last video where I sprinkled these leaves in right before the end of the video. So I have here some very, very dry bread, which we're going to include here, another dry element. But I think we're still okay as far as maintaining balance and moisture levels. And you know, I don't know why we need two feeding zone indicators. I think we're just going to go ahead and promote one of them to accompany the feeding right down there, where it'll most likely not be found next time with all the worm traffic running around the yummy feeding we just gave them. So let's proceed to covering up the feeding area. And you know, I do remember now, I don't think we left the outer edges undisturbed, because I did feel like over here in system number 1, I did feel like a little bit of moisture had to be added. And now I remember, I think it was over in this corner close to me where I sensed a little bit of dryness, and in came the squirt bottle to try to compensate for what I sensed as a bit of dryness happening over there. But everywhere else, it really felt like the moisture level was right where we wanted it. So I didn't add any moisture other than that, in that one spot where I felt like it would benefit the system to not have a little pocket of dry material sitting there. And I'm almost getting the sense now that we've blended in a whole bunch of this dry stuff that maybe adding a little bit more moisture in here would not be a bad thing. So I think we will come in with the squirt bottle and just apply a little bit of moisture before we drop in the leaves, or who knows, maybe we can drop in the leaves and then apply the moisture so that that stuff doesn't have to rely on recirculating water vapor coming from below and attempting to escape and then having to condense and drop back down off the plastic to dampen the leaves. Perhaps we would give these leaves a little break too and dampen them right from the start as we get them into the system. And there we go. Not bad. I did get a sense that perhaps on the outer edges we're not seeing a great deal of worm traffic, but I do believe that's got a lot to do with the fact that we only fed 10 days ago, and a lot of the worms were still busy working down what had been given to them at that time. So to not find too many worms on the outer edge, I don't believe is an indication of an issue, so we're not going to worry about it. We can get right down to sprinkling in the lovely leaves and letting these little guys get back to work. But yeah, let's not forget, we thought it'd be a nice idea to include a little bit of moisture, so I will do just that. Let's get the water bottle in here, and usually when I'm applying moisture at this late stage, it does seem like a good idea to also use that as an opportunity to return a lot of this lovely material to the worm bin rather than taking it to the sink and rinsing it off, so we'll include a little bit of that as well. That's good enough. You know, we don't have to go crazy soaking anything. Like I said, the moisture level in here does feel pretty good. And despite the fact that we added some dry bread, some dry leaves, and some dry cardboard, I still think we're in a really good shape here with a nice comfortable space. Gotta remember, all that vegetable matter that they just received as part of their feeding also brings with it a fair bit of moisture. So I don't think we're gonna have to worry about moisture. I'm sure when we come back in here, we're gonna find a very similar situation where recirculating moisture within the system has thoroughly dampened the top plastic. I mean, the top plastic's already thoroughly damp from when we removed it a moment ago. So that too is coming back in to provide the worms with another little bit of moisture out here on the surface. So that's it for our check-in with the original red wiggler worms on day 52, receiving feeding number 6 after a 10-day interval. And it seems like 10-day intervals are working well. So maybe we'll be back here in another 10 days. We'll see. All right, everyone, that's it for the video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, as always, please don't forget to leave me a quick thumbs up before you go. That's always really appreciated. And if you haven't done so already, please also consider subscribing to the channel. That's very much appreciated as well. All right, everyone, have a great day. Thanks for watching. Bye now.